thank you very much indeed. Look, we want to talk about the whole reform issue. Matt Goodwin's here. Matt, I mean, when we look at what seems to be this huge surge in support for reform, I mean, it's a surge from zero from last time round, but they're doing remarkably well in the result we've seen so far, and in the exit poll, which puts them on 13 seats. Are we going to see that? Are we likely to see that reflected across the country?
So I think if you look at the numbers, what's likely is we're going to see Nigel Farage on reform probably get somewhere in the 17 to 19% range nationally, which is actually what the last GB News People poll had them on, which was just a point above that. What we're also seeing in Sunderland, a real-world result that we've got, remember, not the exit poll, 29%, second ahead of the Conservatives. Here's what's happening. Nigel Farage is becoming the main beneficiary of the post-Brexit realignment, which the Conservatives messed up. He is inheriting a lot of the trends that were happening through the rise of UKIP, Brexit, the Brexit Party, Boris Johnson's realignment. That's why he's finding it so easy in these Labour areas to just pick up where those parties left off. It also tells us something else. Farage is not just hitting the Conservatives in the marginal seats, he's opening up that second flank in Labour heartland. So what he's going to say, I suspect, tomorrow morning will be something like, I'm not just here for former Conservatives, I'm now the main opposition across the red wall. I am the main opposition in places like Wales, in places like the Midlands. Because 29% for a new, small, untested party in a seat like Sunderland, that's a big deal.
Reform have come second.
Yeah, no, I think they'll come second in all Heartland seats.
Can I just briefly come in on this again? Second in another Labour-held seat. What you are seeing again is the emergence of a much broader coalition for Nigel Farage than many people in Westminster are prepared to admit. A lot of these voters, remember, will be former Labour voters, former Conservative voters, there'll be Brexit voters, there'll be working-class voters, there'll be non-graduates. And look, for Labour, there's a big message here. Who's going to be holding them to account on legal immigration, illegal immigration, woke ideology, ECHR, focusing too much on places like London and
But Matt, this is my point. This is my point. The makeup of the Parliamentary Labour Party, which has been dominated by the big cities, and, you know, I'm going to concede, it has, if it's a balance, it has tipped, the scales have tipped too far in a metropolitan side. That's going to rebalance, and I think you'll see a changed Labour Party who will be all too aware that these seats are vulnerable to reform and will act on that.
But there's another message for the Conservatives here too, which Brandon may want to reflect in, which is, look, if the Conservatives now, after Rishi Sunak leaves, if they elect a one-nation Liberal leader who says, you know what, the future is going back to the Liberals in the centre, Farage on these kind of numbers, he's going to exploit that. It would be the biggest open goal going.
Well, let's have a look at the graphic for that one. That just sort of makes it a bit clearer as to exactly where everything is falling. So Labour holding that seat, Reform coming second, Conservatives third, Lib Dems fourth, a distant fourth. What strikes me is that Reform, in terms of percentage, Reform has 28%.
Yeah.
But it also shows,
it's twice the Conservative vote share.
It shows as well they're taking votes from both of the big two parties. And for the Conservative leadership election that will follow this general election, there's an enormous implication there too, because they're going to have to be very sensitive to appealing to those Reform voters. And that's going to mean, I suspect, things like leaving ECHR, tougher position on migration, taking on some of the woke ideology in our institutions, because Farage, he's got the biggest opening he's ever had in British politics right now.